Hey everybody, welcome back. Guys, today we're going to tackle what the number one advantage is to hunting with a crossbow versus a vertical bow. And honestly, it might not be what you think. So stay tuned. All right, you guys, let's dive right into what the number one advantage is to hunting with a crossbow versus a vertical bow. Some of you may agree with me. A lot of you may not. I would love to hear down in the comments below what you think of my assessment or what you think the number one advantage is to being able to hunt with a crossbow versus a vertical bow. So before we get to my number one, I listed out a few other advantages that are often talked about or marketed by crossbow companies or the outdoor media as far as advantages that these crossbows have versus vertical bows. And I do think everything I'm going to list here before number one is a true advantage. I just don't think it's the top one. I honestly don't think it's even close. Accuracy is one that I wrote down. I mean, taking an average person, giving them a compound bow, giving them a crossbow, they are going to be likely more accurate with that crossbow, being able to shoot it more like a firearm, having optics, all that kind of stuff versus a compound bow. I think you guys would likely agree with that. Energy. Crossbows generate a lot of energy. I mean, with the speeds that they're shooting, the draw weights that they have, what you can do with arrow weight. I mean, the kinetic energy and momentum for a crossbow is off the charts compared to a compound bow, especially with realistic, true hunting setups. With kind of that energy piece, FOC, forward of center, you're shooting a much shorter arrow, typically 20, maybe 22 inches, a lot shorter than a vertical bow arrow. So you can really load up the front and get a great advantage as far as FOC goes. Speed, obviously, everybody. And that's probably what a lot of people thought would be the number one advantage to a crossbow is speed and just how fast they're now shooting. We're over the 500 foot per second mark with crossbows, but to me, that is not the number one advantage. Kind of with speed comes effective range. That is probably the other one that you guys would have thought was the number one advantage to hunting with a crossbow. And that one, honestly, the speed and effective range thing, that is what is, touted by the outdoor media, the crossbow companies, the marketing, all that type of stuff is speed and effective range. That seems to be what sells, but that is not the number one advantage. Another advantage, optics. I mean, you got a lot of optics options. You've got, digital optics, traditional optics. You can use red dots. You can use all kinds of different stuff to customize to however you're going to hunt and what you prefer. And then obviously ease of use. They're very easy to use in comparison to a compound bow that takes a lot more practice, a lot more form, there's a lot more human element to shooting a vertical bow than a crossbow. So those are some other advantages, but you guys really, truly, and this is my opinion, the number one advantage to hunting with a crossbow is you don't have to draw. Not having to draw the bow, having it cocked and ready is a monster advantage in a bow hunting season, in an archery season. A lot of times with a compound bow, I mean, you can only hold it for so long and still be accurate. And when a deer or an elk or whatever it is that you're hunting is coming in, you've got to kind of try to pick that window of when he's in, the effective range and when you're going to be able to draw back without him seeing you, having a window to shoot. Like, there's a lot of elements you've got to consider, and you got to time it up just right. If you draw too soon, you might have to hold for a long time and either let down or you might take a bad shot just because you're fatigued. If you draw too late, he might see you, you might have missed your window, all that type of stuff where you don't get a shot off. Obviously too, with that, like, you are moving, you have to move to execute the shot. And there's a huge potential that the animal sees you, if he sees you, how he reacts to the shot, like all that type of stuff. You are removing a lot of that with a crossbow cocked and ready, where all you have to do is as soon as you see an animal that you are ready to take a shot at, I mean, you can just pick it up and you are ready. So no matter when he walks through that window, no matter how, close he's getting, how long you've got to wait, how tight that window is where you got to stop him in just a split second to squeeze it through there, all of that stuff is eliminated with a crossbow that is basically ready to go. And because you don't have to move, because you don't have to draw it, because you don't have to hold it, it opens up some options as far as hunting setups go. So it is way easier to hunt on the ground with a crossbow. I mean, obviously hunting from a from a vertical, position from a tree stand, I mean, that you can certainly do that too, and you're removing that movement element and stuff. But when you get lower, either lower in a tree or straight up down on the ground, not even in a blind, I like to hunt with a ghillie suit, or I like to just hunt, still hunt, like that type of stuff. When you're on the ground where you're going to be eye level with a deer, you've got that advantage of being able to be down there, being able to get really close, not having to draw, and still being able to execute the shot. So that truly, I think out of all of the, I listed 8, there's probably more advantages, you guys. And listen, everyone, I'm not saying that you shouldn't take advantage of all of the other advantages that a crossbow has, like the effective range, like the speed, like the energy that it has, the accuracy that it has. I take advantage of all of those things, and I want to have a crossbow that is set up that I am confident in at ranges farther than I'm confident with a compound bow. In the event, in the right situation, where taking a longer shot, I am confident in my setup and my ability to execute that shot. That is totally fine. I think you should tune your arrows. I think you should get every, quarter inch of accuracy you can out of it. I think you should practice at ranges even farther than what you think you should be shooting at game, like I do, 100 yards, 150 yards, or whatever that distance is. I think having a setup dialed in and capable of doing that, because those are advantages and they're advantages that you can use. I think you should absolutely have your setup capable of doing that. But the number one advantage is that you don't have to draw. You don't have to hold the bow back. You don't have to move much. Use that with that optimized setup to get as close as you possibly can. You should be able to get closer with a crossbow to game than you can with a vertical bow, with a compound bow or a recurve or whatever it is, because of that number one advantage. So use it, you guys. And I've used it in the past, and I've had some awesome experiences hunting at super close range with a crossbow that honestly, I don't think I could have done with a vertical bow. Last year was a perfect example. I had kind of what I thought was a busted hunt in a really thick area. I made one last minute kind of adjustment, and I couldn't climb a tree. I just sat down on the ground, no ghillie suit, no blind, no nothing. And I shot the biggest buck I have shot to date from 10 yards on the ground. And I would not have been able to pull that shot off if I would have had a vertical bow. I had another deer just a couple of years ago where the tree I needed to be in, I could not get more than like 5 or 6 feet off the ground. I shot a buck at 5 yards, 5 feet off the ground. Another one where I took advantage of not having to move, not having to draw. I was ready when he hit the one little window that I honestly had to shoot him in. I got him, and I might not have been able to do that with a vertical bow. Another one a couple years ago, and granted it wasn't a big buck, but it was a public land buck that I sat up against a big tree like I was turkey hunting, because I did not see anything that I wanted to go up into. And honestly, I was kind of out just to enjoy the night. Shot a deer at 15 yards with a crossbow. Again, another one would not have been possible in that particular situation to do it with a vertical bow. The advantage of not having to draw, minimal movement, having a bow cocked at the ready to get super close to game is the crossbow's number one advantage above all the others. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that helps you guys out, and I hope that motivates you to use that number one advantage to get super close to game this season, because not only will I think you will be more effective if you have that mindset, it's a whole lot of fun getting ultra close to deer or whatever it is that you're hunting. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon on the next video. Take care, God bless, and remember, be a sportsman, make a sportsman.